This session actually came out of last year's great work, where we talked a lot about LinkedIn as part of the changing landscape of job searching and how social media is drastically changing that world. And the attendee said, we want to know more about LinkedIn. And the last year for LinkedIn has been really transformational. There have been a lot of changes on the development side, on the recruiting side, and there are things that matter to you as a job seeker that may not be abundantly obvious. And so today we're going to talk about how a LinkedIn profile works and breaks down what's important, and more importantly, which of those items tap back to the people who are actively looking for you as opposed to you looking for them. Oh, a freaky change of circumstances. So let's see if I can make. Apparently I am technologically challenged. You do not have to scribble like a crazy person. This presentation in its entirety is online right now. You can go to that URL and download it as a PDF to any device you happen to have in this room, or you can write down that URL and you can steal them later. And, there's links and all the information accordingly. All right, so we're going to look at the recruiter's point of view. We're going to run down the profile, and we're going to give you 5 insider tips. There's that URL just in case. It's makeitbetter.net/anatomy. All right, so there are 4 me's standing on this stage talking about LinkedIn. One of the me is a marketer. I use LinkedIn to market to folks like you and sell you services and information and all kinds of great things. So all those little offers that show up, those are me and my friends using that platform and all of the information you provide to the platform to talk to you. I'm a recruiter. I hire off of LinkedIn at least twice a month. It is probably the best source of leads that I have for candidates. Members, so I am also on LinkedIn. I connect with people I work with people I like, with people who inspire me. And I'm a developer, so I'm using their data set to do things, to like leverage their network and their data to make other applications. Bet you didn't know all that stuff was there behind the scenes, right? How many of you in this room are on, where did that go? How many of you in this room are on LinkedIn now? Okay, and how many of you think you're doing a good job on LinkedIn? Okay, yeah, I know that feeling. Here's why this is important. The fastest growing talent network on the net today is LinkedIn, and this is starting back in 2003 when I was on LinkedIn with 4 of my friends, and it was a really ugly site that looked a little bit like Craigslist, right? And now you go in there and it's beautiful and there's content and presentations and videos, and it's a whole different world. What's happening in this growth is this major platform change. On the left is what recruiting used to look like. Job boards, job fairs, showing up at campuses, doing all these crazy interviews. You know what it looks like now? You put your requirements in, it spits out 10, 20, 40 people who are really good matches for your criteria, and you reach out to them. Or, like I did yesterday, I needed one position filled with a very specific kind of person. I typed in 3 keywords, found someone who was in the same zip code I'm working, picked up the phone, called them, and they're coming in tomorrow for an interview. That is why LinkedIn is changing my world as a recruiter, but also changing your world as someone looking for work. Yes?
Can we ask questions?
Sure.
As a recruiter, are they using applicant tracking software, or are you putting in, they've got 3 keywords or 4 keywords, and if I don't know about the job, it's how I've positioned myself
Yes, ma'am.
to say, okay.
It is. So LinkedIn is a recruiting platform. It is software as a service for recruiters. They pay, like a 9 recruiter package is about $75,000 a year, but that can very quickly pay for itself by not having to pay 20% finder's fees to
Right,
physical
headhunters.
recruiters.
Right.
And so it has applicant management, it has all these great things. It even has little robots in there where I can say, I'm looking for these kinds of crazy special people, and when they show up on the network, just tell me about it. So it's doing all that work for me. Okay, so here's an example of the recruiter tools. Very good question. I need to pay you later. But here's where the magic is. On the right-hand side, you see that little thing? It says, people you may want to hire. It is looking at my historicals. It's looking at my network, the open jobs I have. It's looking at all different information about me as a recruiter, and it is coming up with recommendations. You're actively Facebook users, right? Statistically, it says that 96% of you are active Facebook users and that you're on Facebook an average of 4 hours a day, 90% of that on your mobile device. Does that seem about right to you? No? Are you, like, give me a raise of hand. Who's a Facebook user?
Who's not?
Okay.
Who is?
Who is?
Is not, like who's not Facebook users. Oh, yeah, so okay, so maybe it's a little lower than that for this group. So Facebook switched to this thing called graph search. Have you heard that? So, you can like now say, show me friends of my friends who are named Christina, and it will come back with a list. It tries to be smart about search. LinkedIn now has graph search as well. So it's taking the hundreds of data points that are in there in your profile, in your networks, in the things you post that you like, that you comment on, and it is trying to provide me as a recruiter with intelligence about who you are. That's what's showing up for a recruiter on that right-hand side. So we're going to talk about how you put things in your profile to show up on this radar, because you might not know about those jobs. You might not be actively searching. And as a recruiter, we can post a job and I will have 30 applicants within an hour of posting a job on LinkedIn. And so it is a very, you can't be on it all the time, sitting in front of your screen just waiting, reload, apply, right? You can't do that. And so you want to do a good job of having your keywords and your profile actively matching to recruiters when you're sleeping. Right? Yes?
When you say you post a job and within 30 minutes you have those applicants,
Yes.
are they responding to your posting or is LinkedIn finding those candidates?
Both. The LinkedIn candidates show up immediately after I do the posting. The applicants show up within the first hour. Yeah.
Could you also use that feature if you were starting your own business?
You can.
Slightly differently, but is that same functionality available?
You have to buy a recruiting account. And it's a monthly fee. It's software as a service. They call it, or you'll see it as SaaS, S-A-A-S. So it's a subscription, but yes, you can do that. Okay. Here's where keywords start to matter. So if I told LinkedIn that I was interested in people with business management, business development, cold calling, and customer support skills, because that was what was important to filling a sales manager role, it knows that the investment banker who's on the system is a really good match for what I'm looking for, where otherwise I might not have looked at that resume.
So that's by keyword match.
This is keyword, but it's also a skills profile. And we're gonna, so you're gonna remember this, and then when we get to skills, the light bulb is gonna go off and you're gonna see the connection, okay? And last but not least, jobs. So it used to be that Monster.com was the largest job clearinghouse on the net, and that is not true anymore. 77% of all job postings today also exist on LinkedIn, but most importantly, 48% of the jobs that are posted to LinkedIn can't be found anywhere else. So Career Builder, Indeed, Monster, Yahoo Jobs, all these places that you're going, they're basically black holes in terms of the application.
Right.
And this is a little more active, better chance where you, putting a little brain power behind there, can be more strategic. Do you remember when vlogging with Facebook was new and shiny and a little scary? Well, it's coming to LinkedIn. All right, so now companies who have job boards on their own site, that software I was telling you we developed, it lets us build and apply with LinkedIn directly on a corporate site. So you have your profile, all you do is click the button, write your cover letter, and boom, it's done. And as of a month ago, you can now do that from your mobile phone.
Can you explain that again, please?
So you can go to sites like, you want to go shopping. There's this great site, you want to shop, you want to check out, you get all the way to the end of the cart, and it says, create an account or log in with Facebook. And you can log in with Facebook, and then it knows where you live, your name, your email address. You don't have to fill in the form.
Right?
When you go to job boards today, or you see a job posting, like this one that's on the Coca-Cola site,
Right.
normally you would have to create an account for their job board, or Talio, or one of the third-party management applications. Upload your resume from a Word file, and then it doesn't import right, or it imports and your bullet points are like all smushed together in one paragraph, and it makes you look illiterate. And right, and that 2 hours later, you're finally done hitting the apply button. With this, all I do is hit apply with LinkedIn. It knows all of my job history, my skills, my endorsements, my interests, what I've commented on. All I do is press the button, write my cover letter, and my LinkedIn profile is delivered to the recruiter, and the whole thing takes about a minute.
And so this, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
So this is, let's say I'm making this up, Craft. I'm totally
Yes.
making this up. Do I follow Craft? Am I looking at Craft daily for job openings? I mean, I'm making this up. How do I,
There's a lot of ways that goes about. This one just happens to be on the corporate site.
okay,
So what it is that your LinkedIn profile becomes portable. It goes wherever you go,
Okay.
whatever. And so this is an emerging thing. Just like you now see login with Facebook or login with Twitter everywhere, over the next year, you're gonna see login with or apply with LinkedIn. You're gonna see this showing up everywhere. Yes?
I totally agree with what you just said. I've done it several times, and it works fabulously well. And there might be a few glitches here and there,
But it's definitely an
overall,
improvement.
It's very easy. The frustration I think that I've found is the silence that follows after that. And I don't know that it's inherent maybe to the organization to which you're applying, or whatever the case may be, maybe not a good match, but I'd like to know that ASAP.
Yeah, there's a human behind those. And if those humans get as many inbound applicants as I get for the things I'm posting, I just think they can't keep up with the volume. And so maybe they'll start to build us automation tools where you can click a button and it'll send you a nice, a nice message.
In regard to the same thing with the silence, when you do apply with the LinkedIn and the cover, what do you say on the cover sheet? Hello,
Exactly the
I'm one
same
of
thing.
millions.
Exactly the same thing you would say in a standard cover letter.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, you do that, you'll be better than 90% of the people in the queue. Because I want, here's the challenge, right? I have 4 resumes because they're designed, right? I have my design resume and my technology one and the one as a strategist. But LinkedIn is 1 page and it's gonna have all that mixed in there. And you all have, right, you have an old life and you have a new life and you wanna also be talking about the bridge and what's possible. So the cover letter is what will help navigate that history. The cover letter is what will help me understand how we might work together.
So you read the cover letter?
Absolutely.
and the cover letter should be tailored toward the position?
Toward the position, your interest in it,
Okay.
just all the same basic things of any good cover letter. The only difference is it's in a little box and you hit a button.
What's something that stands out for you in a cover letter? Like what bypasses all the other noise?
Okay, I do it. You want the straight dirt?
Yes.
It doesn't sound like it came from a Dilbert generator. If it's very personable and human and shows like some heart, there has to be personality there. If it's a standard generic form letter, dear sir or madam, I'm applying in regards to the job posting, that isn't gonna work for me.
Have you hired us? I mean, you see a woman that's been out of the workforce for X number of years, has a great cover letter, good history.
Yep,
Do you hire those women?
absolutely. Those women are capable of doing more than the average bear.
Which program, I know LinkedIn offers certain different, like the basic, which program do you subscribe to?
You mean on the recruiting side? Or just, I have a LinkedIn job seeker profile, and I have the lowest one at $30 a month.
Okay.
And the reason why that's a good investment when you're applying is it puts you at the top of the stack. And if you imagine that in the first 30 to 60 minutes that a job post is out there, that I'm getting that volume, imagine how many I get after a week. And if you have the job seeker account, even if it's just for 90 days while you're actively searching, it pushes you to the top of the list. And let's face it, we have short attention spans. Scannability gets you to the top.
And that's just one of the features of the job seeker, that it has that premium of pushing you to
Yes.
the top.
And you get a little icon, and it sort of drags your eye over there, and I'll show you that on the screen.
Okay, now if you're sort of a noob on LinkedIn, and you're talking about how your resume and your endorsements and everything like that will get shot over to the recruiter, how much does it hurt you to not have a whole ton of endorsements? If you've only been on LinkedIn for 6 months?
It does hurt you. So there is a great way to get more coming to you naturally, and that is for you to be endorsing people who are on your network. And it's very easy to do, but the more you do it, then those accounts get flagged. It's kind of a pay it forward. So the system says, she endorsed you, and all you have to do is just click one button, and it takes only a couple of seconds.
Okay, so you need to grow your network and
You do.
endorse everybody who's on your network.
Yes,
For everything that happens, and
Yes.
hopefully endorse you.
absolutely. And that's awesome. We're going to talk about that one very specifically in a little bit. One more.
I have a question. Obviously, it's very critical what you put in the text, the content of your resume into LinkedIn. If
Yes.
you're going to forward it on. Do companies then, how they have programs that scan for certain keywords, do they then do that with your LinkedIn information?
No, LinkedIn does the scanning for them. So basically, we'll log into the panel, and I'll create a recruiting plan. And I'll say, I'm looking for people who have these kinds of keywords. There is this thing called contextual search. So if I type in something like project management, there are probably 25 ways that you can say project management. LinkedIn knows that, and it's going to contextually find any phrases that essentially mean project management, and it's going to count them in the mix. Okay.
Quickie. Is it about the quantity of endorsements? I was told that it had a lot to do with who they are, like if it's the president of a company I work for, or
Here's the thing, no,
if it's quantity.
it's neither. It depends on what I put in my recruiting plan.
Okay,
In the recruiting plan, I can say give priority to people in these zip codes. I can say give priority to people with X number of endorsements for these skill sets.
okay,
If
okay.
they don't have this many, I don't want to see them. Like, I basically control that. So unless you can read my mind, all you can do is the best job you can at matching keywords for the kind of job you want to the experience that you're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
And it's kind of like classic search engine marketing, which makes it really tough because, like, when you went out to be job seekers, you didn't think you were going to become search marketers, did you? But it's the same discipline. It is the same discipline. All right, so let's go in for the anatomy. So, at the top, professional photo. You're getting those today. Do you know that a LinkedIn profile with a photo gets 7 times more clicks than one without a photo? Yes, that's why we're going to do the professional photo. Names, no credentials. So even if you're a doctor, you're a nurse, you're a certified accountant, don't put any of that stuff in there. You're going to put that under certifications and somewhere else. For the headline, which is number 3 at the top, you get 120 characters. So it's kind of like your elevator pitch. You're at a party, someone says, well, what do you do? Right? You can be quirky, you can be funny. Just make sure you get 1 or 2 important keywords in there, because that little description is what shows up when you're in a long list of people. The geo area, you fill that in with some drop downs. Pay attention to what that is. You may want to be looking, you may want to broaden it. So like you'll see that mine says Greater Chicago area, as opposed to saying Wilmette where I live, because I wanted it to be a broader market. Badges. So in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see there's two icons. One is the gold in, and that says that I'm a paid job searcher, and it is the thing that pushes me up the list. If I'm in a list, that little golden marker helps my profile stand out. The other icon that's next to that is called open, and it basically means anyone can send me an email and contact me. You don't have to be my friend, you don't have to be my follower, you can just contact me. The more open you are to receiving that, the more fluid and more likely you are to get a contact.
How do you put that in your or how do
It's
you?
all under your settings.
Okay.
So up in the right-hand corner of LinkedIn is your little picture with your name, and you click on it, and you scroll down, you click privacy and settings. And there are 101 different settings in there. You have to go and poke through, but there's a lot of stuff that you can customize.
So you want open.
You want the open. Then number 6 here is connections. So when I hit 501, that will change and it will just say 500 plus. In case that's a little nerd thing you may not have known. Contact info, when you click on that, it's going to expand and it includes websites, phone numbers, Twitter, anything that, other ways to reach me online. And one other important thing is number 7, the custom URL. How many of you have a custom URL on your LinkedIn profile? Oh, I see 4. Okay, you're gonna love that. We're gonna talk about how to do that. The custom URL means instead of having some generic long string, like mine is linkedin.com/in/websavant. And websavant is the keyword that I use on every network. So anywhere you go, websavant is me. That's because I've been doing this since 2003, and I'm old. So if I had to do it again, I would choose my name. I wouldn't use my funny little moniker, but that's me. So contact. Here's your first insider tip of the day.
Can you set up that custom URL on your settings?
Yes, I'll show you. I'm going to show you how to do that here in a moment. So insider tip number 1, when you click on the contact thing and you customize it, by default it gives you a drop down that says blog, company website, Twitter, and you just put in the URLs. Well, unfortunately, then you just get a thing that says blog, company website, Twitter. If you choose other, you can actually set the language for the link. So you'll see on the left-hand side for the websites, one says Make It Better Media, and the other one says the Tech Mama blog. If I did it the other way, it's really generic. Those things just help a user know what they should click on. So if you have a lot of things in your list, that's a nice way to set yourself apart. And it takes just a minute. Changing the URL. This one, insider tip number 2, it's a little awkward. So you'll see the URL at the bottom of your profile and you click edit, and then it's going to take you to another screen that has nothing to do with the screen you were just on. But on the right-hand side, there's this little box that says your public profile URL. And then there's a link that says change it, and you get a pop-up box, and you can change it to anything you want here. So if you download this deck, it shows you which links you should be clicking on. This is awkward. It's like a bolt-on in the system, and I think that's why there's only 4 people in the room who figured out how to get there. It's crunchy.
So what do you, why do you need it? Google that.
It makes it easy for you to say, put that in a signature file, to send a cover letter if someone wants to do a reference. I have it on my business cards. I have it on my all different online profiles I have. It's just a nice, easy way. Otherwise, the URL is like this long.
So are you suggesting to put LinkedIn dot in your name?
So the LinkedIn vanity URLs all follow the same format. It's linkedin.com/in/ and then your custom thing. So in my case, it says websavant. It could say Joe Smith. It could say, dog walker. You can say whatever you want it to, but you're looking for something short because it makes it easy to share.
/in/your name.
So when you go to the custom URL page, there's a box and you have an option of typing in what you want it to say, and it will tell you whether or not that name is
Oh,
available.
I see, /in. And I'm sorry, Nicole, I just have one more question about the first insider tip. I missed that totally.
It's with the contacts. So in your profile, see that number 8 where it says contact info?
Oh, okay.
When you click that, you can customize what contact info shows up. And in order to make it easy for people to know which things they should look at, your blog, your company site, you need to label them by using the other.
What
It's
if
just
I,
non-intuitive.
what if you don't have a blog or a company
And you leave
site?
them blank and they don't show.
Okay.
What about an email?
The email address is up on the left-hand side.
Oh,
I've
I
got
see.
2 of them in there. There's,
So would you suggest putting, say, Pinterest in, because that's one of the fastest growing platforms right now?
well, that's a good question. Do you have thoughtful, meaningful things that would be helpful to a job search in there?
No.
Then the answer is no. In my case, I have a Pinterest board that is all infographics, and it's cool research that I've gathered from the internet, and I would link directly to that board because that is related to my work. So you may want to think about even just creating a board. It is
Or
growing.
Forbes.
But if you're a caterer, if you're a designer, if you are a researcher, if you do anything that's visual and you're curating content on Pinterest and it would be meaningful to a profile and the kind of work you're looking for, then absolutely put it in there. Okay. Activity. So the activity section, so right, we were at the top, we had the name and contact information and then activity. This is just the lineup of everything that you're doing. So who are you friends with? What did you like? What did you comment on? It's people you're following. It's just a general status update. You can also post content updates the same way you would do on Facebook or on Twitter. LinkedIn is moving to being a content platform. The thing you will see change over the next year, they've done 4 acquisitions of content companies. They are trying to become the Facebook for business. And so this is something you can be thinking about if you're not a blogger, but you want to write small pieces, you could start doing that. It would show up in the activity feed.
As far as blogs, because I was curious and I was that they get bought by somebody else. Do you have a blog that you would recommend, hosting service that you would recommend?
There's 2 of them that are the go-tos for anyone starting out, and that's a WordPress.com blog
WordPress?
or a Tumblr blog. And the difference for me is, are you posting meaningful content or highly visual content? If it's highly visual, Tumblr is a great way to go. If you need something where you're writing more like articles and putting more resources behind it, then you're going to find more utility out of a WordPress. Okay, so tip number 3, that if you are doing some house cleaning, you're updating your profile, you're changing your contacts, you're putting in presentations, you're going to go to your settings and turn off the activity alerts, because otherwise everyone on your network will get 42 updates that you added experience, you added a skill, you uploaded a picture, and it will just be this on-running thing, and the whole world will know that you are updating your profile. It makes you look silly. So you're going to go into settings, you're going to go into account settings and to privacy settings, and you're going to go turn off the 2 places that the activity log monitors until you get your profile all shiny and ready to go, and then go turn that back on.
So there's 2 places?
There's 2 places. One of them is make it so that only you can see stuff in your activity feed. And the other one is to go in and uncheck the box that says, let people know when you change your profile. And do that while you're doing the updates. You will thank me later.
How far after you do that should you go back in and turn it on?
You can do it immediately, as soon as you're done.
Oh,
Because what happens is you make a change, it posts to the activity log, and it's instant. So as long as you're done with the updates, or the bulk of the embarrassing ones, right? You're fixing a typo, you're adding a picture, you're uploading 4 different versions of your profile photo, trying to decide which one you're the center in. I don't like that, right? You just don't want to be, you don't want to feel silly, turn it off.
And then you turn it back on after you're finished.
Absolutely.
Then there's just one email that goes out to everybody?
No, it won't. The next activity fee that will go out is the next time you add a connection, make a comment. That'll go out to everyone on the network.
Yeah, yesterday I started my LinkedIn so that I could put the photo in today. But my husband said the same thing you said, except he said, I said to him, I don't have any connections yet, right? So what's the difference? He goes, exactly. If you don't have any connections, your updates aren't gonna go out to anybody.
That's true. If you have no connections, you're safe. But typically what happens is, right? Because if a tree falls in the woods, right, it doesn't make sound. So that's one thing, but here's what happens. A lot of times you set up LinkedIn, it asks you for an email address, and then it offers to go, see that? It offers to go out through your address book and send an invite to everyone you know. And so somehow, while you're sleeping, you know, the people you worked with 10 years ago, the ladies in your carpool, the group from church, suddenly you wake up and you have 100 new friends who now know that you updated your profile photo like 7 times. Go and turn it off. Trust me. Good. All right, so after we get through the activity log, we go to the background section. The background section has 2 parts. It has a summary at the top, which is a little longer elevator pitch. You get 2,000 characters, so you can do a lot of stuff in there. And then there's the experience section, which is kind of like your resume, right? It gives you your job line items. For each job, you can put 100 characters for the title and 2,000 characters for the description. So you have a lot of room to work with.
Is summary like skill set, core competencies? What would be in summary?
The best profiles, the ones that the top 1% on LinkedIn, tell a story, right? They're personal. They give you a sense of who that person is and what they stand for and what they're looking to do and how they want to conquer the world. And it's a way of putting some personality behind in a different way that you can't do on a resume. So it's summary. You can tell a story about the transition you're trying to make. You can tell a story about the successes you've had in the past. There isn't a right recipe. The key is to be personable and to be yourself.
Does sense of humor play into it, or is that inappropriate?
Well, I wouldn't go blue on my humor,
Well,
but
no.
absolutely. I think humor is how we all go for life. And telling a good story, telling a narrative, draws the person in, helps them make a connection with you, and I think can contextualize the experience in a way, particularly if you're dealing with a gap, or maybe you're trying to transition from one field to another,
Okay.
right? That it can go a long way. Here's one thing I bet, I'm gonna make a bet. I'm gonna bet we have less than a handful of people in this room who are using the visual part of the experience. Anyone here have visuals added in their work history? You can put up slideshows, photos, presentations, videos, all kinds of things, because there's so many visual artifacts that come along with the work we do. So even if I'm doing a volunteer project, right, I'm the fundraising chair, well, how great would it be to be able to show a picture of the event and the 700 people that showed up and the cool auction and the programs and all the things that I helped to do to make that come to life. That tells a story much better than 4 bullet points, right? I get a much better sense of what you're capable of. So here's an example down here. These are actually copies of Make It Better magazine that you can flip through right on my LinkedIn profile. There are 100 services with that hosted content on the internet that can be built right into your thing. So slide, share, issue, there's a whole list. So when you go into your profile, there's a button that says, you know, add content, and there's a little help menu that will tell you all the places that you can link to.
Could you do a logo if nothing else?
The logos. So when I put in the experience and I said on this one that this is Make It Better,
Right.
that logo is being pulled from the corporate page that Make It Better has on LinkedIn.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
no, I wouldn't put a logo in there because
So
you
the
get-
logos will be built in.
the logos are automatically pulled in.
Beautiful.
Well, let's just double check how we're doing on time. We got about 10 minutes here. All right, so tip number 4. This is where we get into the keyword game. You are all going to be search marketers. Skills and expertise is the next section inside background. Skills is essentially a list of skills. The trick is to look at the kinds of jobs you want, look at the skills that are listed in those job descriptions, look at a person or 2 or 5 who have the kind of job you want, and look at how they describe their work in their profile. Parrot what they're doing, and make sure that it shows up in your list of skills. I was doing some testing last night, and I'm endorsing people's skills, and I saw one that said, does Carrie know magazines? And I thought, well, I'm sure she reads real simple. That was not a meaningful skill that I could say she knows magazines. Now, if Carrie's thing had said, does Carrie know magazine distribution? Does Carrie know magazine circulation analysis? I could wholeheartedly have said, yes, she does. But magazines, right? If I'm a recruiter, I'm not looking for someone who knows magazines. I'm looking for somebody who knows magazine distribution analysis, because that's where my problem is. So it's really important to be thinking about phrases as opposed to single words, unless the single word is something like SEO, which actually stands for search engine optimization. Or, I'm sure whatever industry you're in has its own acronym. You may want to have both the short and the long phrase in your skills matrix. So what happens is I put in my skills, and then someone who's connected to me, and you say up on the right hand side, so I'm connected to Grace, who's our intern. And Grace has the skills in the upper right hand corner in her profile. So when I looked at it, LinkedIn knew that I hadn't endorsed her yet and said, hey, how many of the things on this list do you think Grace knows how to do? And then I just go click, 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 right? The blue box shows up in a different place if it knows that I still have not endorsed Grace, but I happen to see her in a status update. It'll put a big blue box there and ask me, hey, does Grace know these things? So LinkedIn is constantly looking at who I'm connected to and who I have not given a thumbs up on some skill. So you can see why it's really important to not only be thinking about the job, but thinking about the people you want to say, yes, she's good at that, would also use to describe the work you did. That's a tough spot to be in, right? Because you kind of know the job you want, and you know the experience you had, and how do you bridge that gap? It takes being clever. But you're all clever ladies. You can figure it out once you know that that's the challenge.
If you are like a LinkedIn virgin,
Yes.
and you haven't done anything with this yet, when you're, so I'm trying to think how I'm building this.
Uh-huh.
So when I go in to do my skills, I don't have a profile really yet, so how am I looking at other people's skills to get ideas? You see what I'm saying? I have a profile, and I've tried to stalk people, and I can't, because I don't have an account.
Oh, you have to have an account on LinkedIn. It's a closed network. No account,
Right.
no stalking. Yep, no account, no stalking. So price of entry for Stalkers Anonymous is to get a profile, even if you have nothing on it.
So if you have nothing on it, then you can start looking at people. Is that-
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
But when I Googled people's names, it showed some people do have public profiles that are extremely detailed.
They do. All of that is under account, privacy, and settings, and you can do it. So it really depends on how the person's got it. Like mine, about half of what I have on my profile is available to the public. So it's all dependent. And I know that we have a lot of questions, and we have about 4 minutes. So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to ask you to hold so we can get to the next part of this, because it's stuff you need to know, and then I'll answer more questions. Okay. Skills are not endorsements, right? Endorsements is a whole different An endorsement is basically a reference letter in LinkedIn land. And there's two ways you can make that happen. One is that a connection looks at your profile, and that when they see one of the jobs that's on your list, there's a link for them that says endorse or recommend this person. The other way you can do it is if you go into your accounts and settings, and the menu is called Manage Your Recommendations, and you go to Manage Your Recommendations, and then you get the pop-up box on the left that lets you say, here's their email address, this is the job I had, and then you have a little box where you can write them a letter asking them to make a recommendation. So, two ways to do it. They can self-serve by seeing that job, clicking the link, and putting in a review. Otherwise, you can invite them and ask them to do it. I think these, by and large, we don't see as many of these happening anymore because the endorsements are so easy. I can endorse somebody in like a nanosecond. Oops, right? My thumb just goes right over my iPhone. Writing a thoughtful recommendation, it takes like an hour. So I see these going away, but having one or two makes a huge difference. It really helps people have confidence. So you see that down on the bottom right, it says, Kimberly, would you like to recommend Talia? So Talia was one of my interns, and I was going through and I was looking, and realized the system just asked me, did I want to recommend her? So it knows I haven't done that yet. Projects. This is another great place. So for projects, you can say, I had a project when I was working at this company, and it will show up and it will roll up under the company. So this one in the upper right hand corner is an example of Grace, our intern. She did 4 projects for us during her internship. She highlights them there, and then there's a section inside the background called projects where they're laid out with a little more detail. For any project, just like a job, you can add visuals. So if your project was, a research report, you can write about the project, upload the report, and it's all right there in one big history. It's pretty fantastic, right? It's like a living, breathing resume that has so much more potential than just, linen, nice paper with 8-point Times New Roman type. So connections. The kinds of connections you have, and this gets back to a point that you asked about quality, do matter, because as a recruiter, I can use that to influence whether or not you're in the consideration set. I can be looking that you have connections only in a certain industry, that you have them over a certain number, there's certain quality factors. So, befriending everyone on your block through LinkedIn is not a great career strategy.
Okay.
You kind of be thinking about it's LinkedIn, the algorithm, not the people, not the recruiter, but the algorithm is judging you by the company you keep.
Okay.
And so you want to think about that.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
I said the algorithm judges you by the company you keep. So who is in your network on LinkedIn, the quality of those people, how influential they are, all of that matters to the math, to the engine.
So if you decline somebody who asks to connect to you.
Yes, I do it all the time. I do it all the time. You'll notice that as you get more active, there are people who just randomly send you invites, or they use the email thing where it trolls through their email, and maybe we had an exchange once 3 years ago and now they want to be my buddy. You can ignore those invites. Let's see, how are we doing? All right, we're almost done. So extra credit. There are a whole bunch of other things you can add to the profile that are all here. So you can add education, obviously, project languages, publications, but honors, certifications, classes you've taken. So any of this activity that you're doing to kind of get back in the workforce, to maybe fill a skill gap, to maybe refresh skills that you haven't used in a while, get it on there, because you're showing activity and investment, and that's all part of the picture. And you can also add visuals to any of this stuff. my last insider tip. You can rearrange the order of stuff on LinkedIn. You don't have to use the default. So if you have been doing consulting work, or you do a lot of project work, the project stuff probably has more bearing on your hireability than, say, the jobs you held over the last 10 years, especially for those of you who are transitioning. That little icon with the up-down arrow, it's not very obvious, but if you click that, you can just drag the section to the top. So if you're more project-based, get that up front, and that way you're not forcing somebody to scroll 22 pages to get to the most meaningful content in your situation.